make friends with changes. Life changes. Things are going to evolve, they're going to be different. It's not all going to stay the same all the time. Nothing's ever the same. Things go up, they go down, they change. You might move, you might not be in the job that you thought that you wanted to be in. You might not be even living in the country where you thought that you'd be living in. Everything changes, and you got to be able to embrace that change and work with it. I think that even if you think, oh, well, this part of my life I failed, or this part of my life I wasted, or this part of my life I stayed too long and I shouldn't have, I don't think that any of these stages of life are actually wasted or should be looked at as a failure. I think all of those were part of your growth, and all of those were needed. And if you could pull out the lessons, and if you could sit down and journal and really think about it, really ask yourself, what did I actually learn from this? And write it down and really think about it and really take the time to do this. You'll become a better person. You'll become a better version of yourself. You really, really, really have to actually think about it, because often we go through the day, we go through the motions, and we just do things all day long, and then we don't really take the time to think about it. And I think that's something to even add to your morning routine, is sit down with a journal in the morning when you first wake up and you have fresh thoughts. And just write down things, ask yourself things and write them down. And it really helps you process. I really feel like my own journal was definitely part of my success, my own success. I really think that it is, because I almost write everything in my journal, my ideas, my business plans, my to-do list. And often when I look at part of my life where I wasn't writing as much, I could definitely see oh, I was making a lot of mistakes, and I was doing the mistakes over and over again because it was definitely a pattern, and I wasn't understanding, and I didn't get that it was a pattern until when I started to write things down. I'm like, oh my God, I'm literally boring myself with how much I'm repeating the same mistakes. So that's how you grow. You grow when you're sick of your own mistakes. Sometimes painful things happen in our lives. So I had a really good friend of mine who actually passed away, and that was a painful time. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to see anyone, and I almost didn't even want to talk about it, because it was kind of what's the point of life? And I just kind of got into this negative spiral, and I needed actually some help to come out of it. I needed to talk to some friends, and I even had to go see a psychic, because I was just not in a good mental space at the time. And often it's well, I don't want to talk about that part anymore because it's too painful. But what if we took all those things that happened to us and carried it with us for the next part of our lives, and learn from it? Instead of carrying all the painful parts of it, just take the good parts and think about all the things that you learned from it. Take that with you and leave the rest behind. So you don't have to shut off a whole part of your life because you're oh, that was too painful, I don't want to look at that. So as difficult as a part of your life is, even when I thought I was gonna probably go into bankruptcy at one point, I was in so much debt, $150,000 in debt. And I thought, well, I could go into bankruptcy, but I do want to buy a house in the future. So I'm going to try to not go into bankruptcy. So I really thought about it. But that part, it was really, really a painful time. But then I took that and I brought it in to my story. And I'm no, you know what? This is going to be part of my story, and I'm going to be successful one day. I'm going to remember this. And as painful as it was, I changed it all around, and now I grew from it. So I think that you could grow from the painful parts of your life. And that's one thing that I learned as well. Instead of rejecting the pain all the time, it's going to come back to you in different ways. So if you sit with the pain and embrace it and kind of meditate with it and just kind of feel how it feels to feel that pain, and actually accept it and embrace it, because that's part of you and is part of your experience on life and is part of who you are. Every single thing that happens in your life, it's because that's part of your experience on earth. So whenever something keeps happening again and again and again, it's a pattern. It's because you're rejecting it. You're rejecting it and you're not fully embracing and feeling it. You can only start moving away from it once you've accepted that that's part of you, and then you move on. And everything that you literally go through makes for a more interesting you, a more interesting life. And all those experiences that you have, you could connect them all to your business, to whatever your goal is, to whatever your craft is, and you connect it all, and it becomes who you are. We're all unique here. And you know what? No one has a perfect life, because if you think about success, it's not one straight line to success. It's you go, and then it's and then finally you're successful. It's there's a whole bunch of ups and downs along the way. How boring would life be if it was just like, okay, you get from point A to point B and nothing crazy happens and now you're successful? It's like, oh, okay, well, that would be kind of boring. So I know that when you're at the beginning of your journey, you just want to get there. But actually, when you look back at the journey, you could actually look back and like, you know, even cry or laugh about it. And there's like so many sections that were like, oh my God, I can't believe we went through that, you know? Because as you go through the journey, that's the fun part. Like once you get to your goal, you know what's going to happen? You're going to want a bigger goal. You're going to want a bigger goal, and you're going to want like, oh, okay, so I've made 1 million in my business. Well, now I want to make 10, you know? So it's like you're always striving for more, but you can't forget the journey that took you there. You can't forget the ups and downs, and that becomes part of you, part of your story. It's much more interesting that way. And hopefully with my journey and my experiences, I could motivate you and inspire you to be your own amazing person and your own success story. And hopefully you're going to make an impact on the world. Well, I already know that you are. You're already impacting those around you. Everybody's impacting those around you. Even if there's one person around you, you're impacting them somehow with your mood, with your stories, with your experience. Somehow you're affecting people around you. So hopefully I'm affecting you for the best.